Alright guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, we post videos every week, 1 to 2 videos a week, depending on how much content we can get put together for the week. If it's raining, storming, such and such like that, usually just one. Good weather, we'll have 2 videos out. So I thank you guys for coming back that continue to watch these videos, and if you're new here, go ahead and down below hit that sub for me, and let's try to get this subscription grown to 3,000 guys. We're getting up there, starting to grow pretty steadily now. But today we're going to go ahead and talk about my 5 baits that I would highly recommend to throw early springtime. Now we're talking real early spring. Fish aren't quite still doing their winter thing, but they're just starting to move. Water's getting warm enough, we're getting some nice warm days. These fish are thinking about just starting to get the thought of spawning in their mind, so they're just starting to move in these bigger lakes. And now northern guys still have ice now, southern guys are experiencing spawn right now, but here in the Midwest, here in Missouri, these fish are just starting to move, just starting to think about spawn. So what these fish will do, they'll hit the main points, kind of work their way back, stopping off at all the secondary points on the way back. So what you want to do, start on those main points, work your way back, and keep hitting those point after point until you find these fish are hitting that cover right off the deep water, where these fish will pop up and kind of feed on those real warm, nice days, and you will find fish, guys. So the first bait we're going to go ahead and start with today is the flat-sided crank. Now this is the Strike King KVD HC 1.5. Tight wobble, good action, and it has that bill on it. It's going to get it down a little bit deeper. When we're talking about the fish that are moving and stopping on these points but are still hanging off the bank a ways, kind of out in the deeper water, that's usually where you'll find the bigger fish. If you're finding a bunch of smaller fish up on the banks, guys, and you can't seem to get the bigger fish, the quality fish that you're looking for, go ahead and back off the bank a little bit, and usually those bigger females are hanging out a little bit deeper if they're not up, moved around feeding. So these baits can get it done. Another one is the Defoe flat-sided crank. It's got a little bit smaller lip on it, but again, tight wobble, nice action on it. This bait will get it done. I've been seeing Jacob Wheeler throw this recently and doing some damage on it. So another bait, this is kind of just going to go along with the deeper cranks, guys. I'm going to make this a separate bait, but to go along with those 2 flat-sided cranks, kind of the same type of deal here, is the flat-sided lipless crank. And you'll fish these out a little bit deeper. You can run these up shallower, you got to burn them a little faster, which ain't a big deal this time of year. Those fish are moved up and they're feeding. Don't be scared to move these baits quick, guys. They will still eat it. But these, you can let them sink down, get deeper, and kind of yo-yo them out there, or just slow retrieve them, or kind of twitch them around, guys. Like all these cadences in these baits, you want to. Don't just do a steady retrieve. Don't be scared to throw in like a little jerk or a pop or a little quick crank or whatever. Get these fish to react to these baits and get them to strike. A lot of times you'll have them follow, they won't strike. You throw that little difference of a cadence in there, and sometimes it'll trigger those fish to strike. Alright, the next springtime bait, early spring bait that I would definitely have tied on is going to be the jerkbait, guys. And oh, I got a hook in my hand. It's going to be the jerkbait, and I'm either going to be throwing the Megabass 110 in like a shad color, or it is going to be the Rapala Shadow Wrap, also in like a shad color, shad imitation color. These 2 jerkbaits usually all I need. This one, you can see the bill on it, pretty good sized bill, gets down there pretty decently deep. And if those fish are actually still deeper, this Megabass bill gets this thing, I can get this thing down a lot deeper. And usually the Rapala Shadow Wrap will get it done. And I will usually only go to this if those fish are out a little bit deeper and I'm thinking they're not going to commit to come up all the way to it. Although I usually have both of these sides on kind of flip-flop in between them. But Don't be scared this time of year once that water starts warming up and these fish start moving. You can actually work these baits a little faster. We're not in the winter mode anymore, so you ain't got to do 30 to a minute pauses in between. I mean, you can twitch. Like you can speed up your cadences now. These fish they're gonna be fired up and they're gonna be wanting to eat. So don't be scared to fish them a little faster than you have been the past couple months. So, all right, the next bait number 3 is going to be, and these are no order, guys. It ain't like first to last or anything. It's just the 5 baits that I'm gonna have tied on to go catch spring fish. So the next, you guys can probably guess, is the chatterbait. I like a more natural color or a black and blue color. Kind of like if I was gonna throw a jig this time of year, I'd be throwing a natural color or a black and blue usually. Usually you're getting some spring rain and the water usually has some color to it. So I know guys that like to throw chartreuse too, and if I'm not getting bit on these, I will just experiment with colors, but this is usually what I would start with, a natural or a black and blue. And then on the back of these, I'm going to throw an HD swimmer on the back of these, or a if I want more of a natural color to match this greenish and brown color, I will grab a Guggen saucy swimmer. I can show you these real quick. Here's the more natural color Guggen saucy swimmer here. I actually have it on the back of this red and black. It kind of, when those colors clash like that, I feel like it just gets those fish's attention more. I don't know. I was just experimenting with this one day and actually have a video of getting kicked out while using this lure. So, but yeah, that's that Guggen saucy swimmer. That color would go good with that chatterbait. Or there is a the black and blue. You could throw like a shad color on the back of that, or if you wanted to, I think Kitech actually makes some black and blue swimmers as well. So, but yeah, those you can fish those chatterbaits when those fish are pulled up shallower. You get a nice real warm day or a few warm days or a warm night and 2 warm days or something. Those fish are going to pull up, start feeding and searching around. Throw that chatterbait up there, let it sink a little bit, and then you could just do a steady retrieve and kind of twitch it every once in a while. That twitch will get the reaction. A lot of these baits, when you're fishing them, guys, don't be scared to mess with your cadence. Give some little twitches or some little pauses, pops in them. It'll just, sometimes that little bitty subtle movement will get those fish to react and strike those baits. Alright guys, I kind of talked about this bait in one of my other recent videos, along with like I think I did a video on my top 6 favorite baits, and some of these might cross over a little bit, but that's alright because these are the best spring baits to use. If you are struggling getting some bites, you're just looking to get some bites, can't find them, you think these fish the weather's kind of changed and you think these fish may have pulled back, moved up shallow, not aggressively feeding or anything, you're struggling to find them, struggling to get a bite, but you know that they're in one of these areas you're fishing, I'll put on a little swim bait, guys. There we go. I'll put on a little Tackle HD swimmer with just a normal little 1/8 ounce head. I think it's 1/8 ounce. Or with an 1/8 ounce weedless with a little underspin on it, and just drag that swimmer along the bottom, guys. Those fish will see it, key on it. If they're on the bottom, not really moving much, you just get it to go by them. And you can even throw little pauses in there too. Those fish will pick this up off the bottom. It's still a little bit quicker than hitting the panic button and throwing around a jig or a Ned rig or a shaky head or something like that. I'm trying to stay away from those kind of baits unless I find a group of fish and I catch a bunch out of there and I need to pick a few more fish out of there, and I think there's still some in there. I might pick up a Ned rig, shaky head, or jig just to throw in there and see if those fish will hit that bait. But I want to keep moving this time of year. I want to find those fish that are up and active and feeding. Now, it's obviously a different story if you have a ton of rain dump in and it just changes the lake up completely, or if you have a big cold snap come in. Now, once these fish move and they start heading to their spawning grounds, their spawning areas, now I'm mainly talking about lake fish right now, but when they're moving to their spawning areas and they're hitting those points, or they're hitting those little stopping areas where they're going to hold up for a little while and then keep on moving, once they start moving and get there, even if snow comes in or whatever, they won't go all the way back and go back to winter mode. They already started moving, they already got things fired up. They'll just hunker down where they're at. So don't go straight back to the winter hole if you can't find them. Sometimes that's not the case. If you know they started moving, they're moved closer to their spawning area. They're not going to be moved back to the wintering hole. They're going to be hunkered down right where they were whenever that storm hit or that cold weather hit. So don't be going back, hitting the panic mode, thinking, man, these fish are back into winter. Nope, they don't go back. Once they start moving, they're moved. They're going to be hunkered down where they're at. So grab you a little swimmer, a little Tackle HD swimmer, Kitech, something like that. Finesse, move it along the bottom real slow. Those fish will pick it up. And everything I'm talking right now is my plans for this tournament come Sunday. Although I think we're going to get a ton of rain, I'm going to be throwing each of these baits probably. Might experiment with some new things because I think it might be kind of muddy. We're going to have a ton of rain dumped down on us. Alright guys, the fifth and final bait is going to be the square bill. Here, I'll show these one at a time. I don't know how to hold it. There we go. The square bill. This is a darker red and black. I forget who makes this. I got it in a mystery tackle box, I believe. But this is the... I know a lot of people like these as well. Hold on. The KVD 1.5. That is in a chartreuse crawl color, or the shad colored KVD Strike King 1.5 as well. And if you're in super clear water, obviously you're going to want a more ghosty, shaddy, natural looking bait. But if you're in that color, more water with a little bit of color, you're going to want one of these red baits, or like a chartreuse or something bold. But red is usually what you want to go to this time of year. But these baits will also be for when those fish are moved up. Here after a couple nice days, those fish pop up, feeding real good, and you find them up there, grab this square bill and just start going to work. Go down the bank, hit those little secondary points, find those fish, and just run these by them. Don't be scared to crank these things pretty quick either. They will run this bait down. When those fish are up there feeding like that, they're going to run it down, they're going to eat it, they will hit it hard, so be ready for that. And that is going to be, that's it. That's 5 bait, guys. That's the 5 baits that I would recommend using for spring if you're new to fishing or you're advanced fishing and you're just looking to throw some more baits. If you haven't thrown any of these, which I'm sure you have if you're advanced, these are the pretty standard spring fishing baits. But a lot of you guys that watch these type of videos are new to fishing, are still learning a lot. So go pick up some of these baits that I've talked about, guys, and go out and try doing some fishing. Now I'm going to talk about river fishing here for just a second. River fishing is a little different. They're not going to be going to those points like that and moving back to their spawning areas. They're going to be wanting to go, smallmouth in particular, or going to be wanting to go up those creeks, their spawning creeks. So it's pretty easy to find a wintering hole in the river. It's a big, deep, non-moving hole. That's where the fish are going to winter, and then from there they move to the mouth of those creeks. And they will stage up around the mouth of those creeks until the water gets just perfect, and then they move up those creeks to spawn. So once those fish start moving, I like the swim bait I was holding up. I like to throw that swim bait around the current seam, or like you want to find a little bit of calmer water, a little bit of slack water around those creek mouths. And those fish will stage up right on those current seams right there, waiting to move up into those creeks. So throw that little swimmer along those current seams. Or you can even throw a red crank right there. My buddy tore them up last year on red cranks, doing the exact same thing. Right along the current seam. They're staging up, waiting to move up. Once they do move up in those creeks and haven't spawned yet, I like to drag a tube around or throw the same swim bait. I like to throw that swim bait a lot in the spring. Drag it around on the bottom, and those fish just go crazy for it. That is about it with river fishing. River spawning fishing is a little bit simpler than lake fishing, especially if you're on a real big lake. It could get tough to find them in a river. I mean, you only have so many spots. It's pretty right in front of your face where those fish are going to be. Do a little research, you'll know right where to go to catch those fish in the spring. But stuff on the river is going to happen a little sooner than the lake as well. Those smallmouth will they spawn a little bit quicker than the largemouth would in a lake, so It's good to hit the river real hard first while all that's going on, hop over to the big lakes, and then just kind of follow that spawn around Missouri. So, but yeah, that is my top 5 baits I would recommend throwing for early spring bass, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hit that like for me, guys. Leave a comment and hit that subscription button for me. Subscribe to the channel, help me get to 3,000, past the 2,500 mark, and we are growing pretty quickly now. So thank you guys again, and I will see you guys next time.